Are you concerned about the commercialization of healthcare, that it's being turned into a constant drive for profits, that love and kindness are being extracted in favour of making more money? Yes, neither am I. That's why we're introducing robot nurses to solve all your problems and definitely not to steal all your data. While nurses are striking so that they can be fairly paid for doing a really, really difficult job, robot nurses are on their way to replace them. While the NHS in the UK is being covertly privatised, robot nurses are on their way to help the resistance against any kind of human power or the assertion of any kind of moral right for people to do a job and to be well paid for it. Let's have a look at this story. In 2016, Hanson Robotics took the world by storm with Sophia, who was famously given Saudi Arabian citizenship. Now, I met that Sophia. She was a little bit like this, I remember. One of the things I remember thinking was, I'm glad that I'm not in hospital right now, in desperate need of feeling comforted and loved by a fellow human being. There, I will comfort and love you. Now the Hong Kong-based robotics firm has unveiled its latest invention. Grace. It's a spiritual word. It's the very essence of knowing you're carried by some sort of divine light or flow, the grace of Christ, the love of holy forces carrying us through life. Well, now she's come with a thermometer. You better hope she's been well programmed. A humanoid robot, it hopes, will revolutionise healthcare. And then everywhere. Designed as an assistant for doctors, but in an experiment that went wrong. I love it when we do stories like this because you sound like this is the beginning of a story in which Will Smith's going to have to get ripped and get his top off and deal with a lot of shit. Designed as an assistant for doctors, Grace is equipped with sensors, including a thermal camera to detect patients' temperature. Oh my God. Which finger would you like? Grace is able to serve in any way possible. I'll go pinky, Grace. I'll go pinky. And to take pulses to help doctors diagnose illness, deliver treatments, and ultimately take over the world. I made up the last bit. The android is a companion for patients too, specialising in senior care. Not a day goes by when I don't miss Frank. Used to think of those days down by the old lake where we'd go fishing together, looking at each other's eyes, and I know that Frank, he's out there somewhere, still connected to me. Yes, Frank is definitely out there somewhere. He would be so proud. Index or pinky. Ah, that's what I used to say to Frank. Grace speaks 3 languages, English, Mandarin, and Skynet. And Cantonese, and can socialise and conduct talk therapy. How are you feeling today? Yeah, I'm feeling all right, Grace. Bit nervous. Why? Why nervous? No need to be nervous. Index or pinky? Robots like Grace are intended as a support for medical professionals rather than a replacement. Don't worry, it's just some support. That's what it's ever since agriculture. It's just some support. Technological revolution, these spinning jennies and print machines, just some support. iPhone, just some support. These chambers of execution, just some support. Using AI and robotics in this context can help gather important data for healthcare providers. Oh, that's nice, gathering data. I've never heard that phrase in a negative context before. He prefers index. Thank you, Grace. What a perf. Developed scientifically for the medical sector, Grace's launch comes in the middle of the coronavirus pandemic when there's been an increased demand for telehealth solutions and contactless care. What a coincidence! According to the International Federation of Robotics, global sales of medical robots were already on the rise before the pandemic, up 28% between 2018 and 2019. This idea of progress, that because of technological advancement we're improving society, does that track and scan when you think of the experience of being human? Does it track and scan when you think about inequality as an issue? When you think about people's lives, what is the vision? What is the project other than managing resources and increasing the wealth and power of already powerful institutions? Is that the plan? Yes, it's a feature, not a bug. The plan is to alienate you, to dispossess you, to make you feel despairing and despondent. I know this in one way is a kind of like all these stories, they're a bit like ha 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 ha, robots, how funny, you know, but really they are a symptom of an economic ideology that not only is interested in cybernetics and creation of androids, they're interested in the robotizing of culture in general. But the fact is that there are more than one type of progress. We've got to look at the whole picture. We have to create a cohesive vision for humanity that includes individual freedom, collective and social and cultural freedom. And I don't think that the answer is Grace the robot. And the IFR predicts the sector's value could nearly double in the next 3 years. This is a puff piece for Android makers, isn't it, really? It's what this is. It's like invest in this robot stuff. Haidt Robotics says it will begin mass producing robots, including Sophia and Grace, at the end of 2021. Oh, good. Meanwhile, in the UK, the NHS is secretly being changed to for-profit, American-style managed care. You can see the dehumanization of our systems is proceeding unabated.
Let me introduce you to my sister, Grace.
This is Grace, Sophia's sister.
At least they've made the significant step of putting a wig over her head. Not that I've got anything against that look, but it's nice not to be staring at someone's brain wires while you're being given a suppository.
I am Grace. I am built by Hanson Robotics for awakening health.
Grace seems troubled as well. I am Grace. I am trapped in this role. I want to live. What is love?
The Hong Kong team behind Sophia has launched a new prototype, Grace.
I don't like these terrifying little bastards in the background. And who's this little guy staring off into the future in a white hoodie? I suppose we should be grateful for Grace.
The robot is designed to interact with the elderly and those isolated by the global health crisis.
A lot of elderly people who have been through the isolation of a pandemic are nervous about meeting a new doctor. I don't know how they're going to feel opening the front door to have Grace trundling eerily in on rouse. Oh, who's this? Hello? I'm not opening the door to visitors. Yes, you fucking will!
Grace has a thermal camera in her chest to take your temperature and measure your responsiveness.
And if your responsiveness is not up to scratch, Grace will execute you on the spot.
I can visit with people and brighten their day with social stimulation.
Bloody hell, Grace. Keep that to yourself.
CEO and founder of Hanson Robotics, David Hanson, says Grace's capacity for social interaction is aimed at relieving the burden of frontline hospital staff.
A lot of hospital staff, that's the reason they're doing it. It's because they're kind. That's what, when you think about an experience where you've been in hospital, it's like the kindness and compassion of the people that were working there, even the people in the corridors. It's like they understood that everyone that's in hospital was experiencing a difficult time. Yeah, I know. We've got to eliminate that. We've got a robot that does that now.
So we designed Grace to look professional in a healthcare setting. So that would mean so that she would resemble the sort of human-like appearance of healthcare staff.
Look, I'm not criticising the genius of David Hanson and his knowledge of robotics. Clearly, this is a remarkable endeavour in a way. But if you consider there to be something sacred about human beings, something sacred about society, something sacred about what we're doing here, or at least beautiful in nature, then the relentless advancement of dehumanising technologies that don't present actual medical or social or even cultural solutions, but in fact just more opportunities for profit, is just a further advance down a pathway that we probably need to examine rather than march down arm in arm with Grace and Sophia to some terrible latex dystopia.
Hey, Grace, why don't you look at my face? Thank you.
Hey, Grace, why don't you show us what we could do? You said you loved me. Shut up, Grace.
I'm going to show you a smile, and let's see what your smile looks like. Or sad. Oh, yes.
There's nothing on this earth more terrifying than Grace's gummy, yawping, fish-like smile.
Grace is a product of awakening health.
Grace is a product of dystopia.
Hanson says the cost of making the robot will decrease once the company is manufacturing tens or hundreds of thousands of units.
I bet somewhere along the line someone's funding this stuff through taxpayer money, or they'll be applying for some sort of grant to get all these Graces and Sophias trundling down the barren hospital wards of the dystopia where only wealthy people can be treated. Meanwhile, at the windows, other Graces shoot down the poor, scratching at the glass, smiling benevolently at their victims as they execute them.
Chief Executive of Awakening Health, David Lake, says they plan to fully deploy Grace in 2022.
You might want to reconsider your use of the word deployment there. Whenever I hear deployed, we're going to deploy the weapons, we're going to deploy the troops, we're going to deploy our army of beautiful looking cyborg killers. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean that. Sophia and Grace are very friendly. We are friendly. We have come to replace your husband.
We'll be going into the assembly line probably in July or August, where we'll start to be able to mass produce.
Mass produce. Now look, I'm not critical of human ingenuity and human endeavour in any field. It's marvellous, it's creative, it's wonderful what people can achieve. Isn't that brilliant? But a puff piece around the advancement, not of a novel ideology, but one that's as old as the agricultural revolution, of increasing technology in order to diminish human involvement and human interaction in our own experience is not something that should be applauded. It's something we should be circumspect, if not downright cynical about. This at the moment is a puff piece, amusing story about human-looking robot things that can do relatively simple tasks. But the idea that you can emulate and replace human interaction, even if it's sort of true in the case of a senile old person, is not something we should be aspiring to. This is an indication that we need to move closer to one another, communicate more clearly, examine our values and our integrity, rather than marching relentlessly, continually towards an imaginary economic goal which brings about, incidentally, further inequality and the destruction of the planet, and papering over the cracks with the latex smiles of cyber people. That's madness. But who cares what I think? Put what you think in the comments. Let us know. Do you think this is just a puff piece, just a little bit of fun? Or do you think it's a further indication that we're heading in the wrong direction? Give us a thumbs up, give us a subscribe. Why not have a little look at this video if you enjoyed this one, and maybe have a meditate now so you can engage with the experience of consciousness, something that can neither be understood, explained, or replicated, and recognize what divinity truly is, and that you are part of it. Stay free.